Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeart Radio Network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And also Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe. According to Big C and them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America. Thank you so much for following Big C Sports across the pond, as well as London, England, and Paris, France. And Big C, you know what? I got to apologize to my good old boys from Canada because I thought Milwaukee would take care of you good old boys from up north. But I want to say congratulations to Canada. But there's still no one I love more than them good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys?
Well, you know, the Southern teams are out of the playoffs also, Doug, man. Atlanta Hawks got eliminated, so they go hang out with the Milwaukee Bucks and spend some spring time together. But everybody's down here debating the draft, Charlton. It was just a mind-blowing affair. You know, we all feel like with Shea, Piper, and Mike.
Yeah.
We don't know what happened either.
Yeah, I heard one of them good old boys this morning on the radio, and of course everybody deserves a job, okay? Especially guys like Colin Kaepernick, but I heard some of this good old boys this morning saying how he missed his friend, the one that got let go, Cannell, and he also thought he'd be gone too, but he was saying that I wanted to just pay respect to his friend because he missed him. But these are the same good old boys that were calling for the firing of Colin Kaepernick, and he still has a chance to get a job. Perhaps they do too, Big C, but is that a little bit of turnaround as fair play, Big C?
Because of their ability, you were the same that didn't deserve a job because you didn't like them.
Yeah.
It's ironic when you find out how many people don't like you and you end up with a job.
That's funny. I know we always talk about that. Today is a beautiful May the 1st, 2017, so I want to wish everyone a happy May. We're actually broadcasting live from northern Nevada, the Grand Sierra Resort, gorgeous hotel here, luxury resort here in Northern California, actually Northern Nevada. It's a beautiful place. A lot of people from California come across the Sierra Nevadas just to come here. So we're outside. There's a lot of things going on. So if you hear a little background noise, that's fine too. But Big C, I know we had a lot of things going on in your mind around the world of sports. And as you do, no better than, as well as anybody, I think you said the Clippers would be done by this series. I was hoping that the Clippers would beat them because I wanted to see more California love. But that didn't happen, obviously, Big C. Maybe they didn't want to hear my singing. Your thoughts on Utah knocking out the Clippers?
Well, you know, Charlton, this is a team that's been in dismay in the playoffs for the last 3 seasons.
Yeah.
You know, Doc Rivers came from Boston with a tremendous resume of winning.
Yeah.
But, you know, that formula hasn't matched up out with the Clippers.
Yeah.
You know, for some reason they just don't have playoff chemistry. You know, this was a team that, you know, the first month of the season was leading the NBA West.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden things they went back to being the same old Clippers that everybody knew.
Yeah.
And, you know, being bounced out in the first round of the playoffs is nothing unusual for them. But, you know, when you sit there and you look at the calendar of this team, Charlton,
yeah,
there's no way they can bring this team back. At least 2 of these players have to go. They're going to have to find a way to rebuild. You know, everyone has always looked at Chris Paul as one of the top point guards in the league.
I don't think so lately.
He's never gotten out of the first round
yeah.
of the playoffs.
Yeah, he came up flat.
You know, but is it Chris Paul or is it Blake Griffin? You start blaming the superstars. You know, Paul Pierce, a 20-year veteran,
yeah,
you know, played his last game as a Clipper. He was one of 3 players left in the draft, I believe, 84, 86.
Yeah.
From 86, along with Vince Carter and Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah.
Now there's only 2 left. If Dirk comes back, Vince Carter's already announced that he's going to play another year.
Yeah.
But, you know, Charlton, you have such high expectations from such a large market organization, and once again, they fell flat on their face.
And, you know, I love Doc Rivers. I love so much about his character and how, you know, he's just honest. He said, we got beat. You know, people were asking him, did you lose this game because you did not have Blake Griffin? And we know Griffin, you can't really count on him because he's injury prone too, Big C. And every athlete can get injured. I'm just saying that there's a track record when you get injured like every season, something's wrong with you. And maybe there's not. Yeah. So maybe it's not worth putting, you know, $100 million into used car tires when you got to fix them all the time. But I just want to get your thoughts too, because I would think that even though Chris Paul got outplayed because he was worn down, I think, But I would like to see Paul stay. I would love to see DeAndre Jordan stay. I would say get rid of Griffin, though. And maybe you keep J.J. Riddick because you need a three-point shooting guy. And even Rivers is a good player. But I think you get more value out of Griffin because somebody's going to pay money for damaged goods. Your thoughts, Big C? Yeah.
Maybe if you brought in a different point guard scenario, made that move with Paul, put him in a better situation for himself. I think it's all facilitated through that. I mean, you look at Doc Rivers when he had Rajon Rondo in Boston.
In Boston, yeah.
When Rondo left Boston hadn't been anything until they got Thomas, the past couple of seasons. But point guards are harder to replace than anybody else. You think about the Spurs with Tony Parker. That team runs through him, Charlton.
Yeah.
As well as in Boston with Isaiah Thomas. Even in Cleveland, LeBron James is the point guard on that team, okay?
Yeah.
When you decide to take over, he's the one facilitating. We see how Russell Westbrook was in OKC.
Yeah.
And how boring the playoffs are without him.
Oh, yeah.
James Harden is the man in Houston.
Yeah.
Without Harden, they had nothing. When you look at the composite of playoff teams that are left, Charlton, they all run through their point guard.
Yeah.
So it is very imperative that you have a strong point guard when you're in the playoffs. You may say other players are the team leaders.
Yeah.
But without that point guard at this time of the year, you really have no hope in the playoffs.
Well, Big C, I want to say this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Obviously, Big C, there's a lot of people driving Escalades up here in Nevada, too. We still have snow on the top of the Sierra Nevada mountains. Ironically, coming over from California today, they were saying the drought, not only is the drought over, we have 50% more rain than what we need to make the drought 100%. So that's obviously Big C. I may not be the best at math, Big C, but 50% is a lot better than no percent. Your thoughts? Yeah.
After the hardships in California, that they're really the United States.
Yeah.
So many places has gotten an overabundance of water, and in some places it's created tragic results, unfortunately, for a lot of Americans, Charlton. But water is the lifeblood of the world.
Yeah.
Without water, we have nothing. And with you guys having an abundance of water this year, that means there's going to be an abundance of crops.
Yep.
And now, Trump has forced all the Mexican migrant workers out of California.
Yeah.
Who's going to pick those abundance of crops? So he can't say that there's not jobs out there now, okay?
That's definitely true, Big C. That's well, that's so true. And in fact, I heard there was a gentleman on CNN. We follow CNN quite a bit. We oftentimes hear things that we talk about repeated on CNN. And one of the good old boys on CNN, he was saying you don't have Mexicans coming over taking jobs from white Americans. You have machines, okay? Machines are taking the jobs away from people. We still hate the racist rhetoric that goes on with POTUS, and hopefully, he'll be looking like the guys at ESPN. He'll be looking for a job too, from what I understand. Coming up, Big C, I want to get your thoughts real quick too. The Celtics game, they came back from an 0-2 deficit to eliminate the Bulls. They advanced to the second round of the Eastern Conference, and even Isaiah Thomas, he's doing it with one less tooth. Big C, your thoughts? Yeah.
Isaiah Thomas lost his baby sister.
Yeah.
Prior to game one in this series, and your heart goes out to that young man and his family.
Yeah.
For such a tragic loss. Everybody's going to go through loss in life, Charlton, and even when we have members of our families that are elderly and have been ill, and you think it's less burdensome on you when that time comes that they pass. It's not to lose a young life, Charlton, in such a tragic way, and to be able to have to go out and go to work every day. And his work is different than others, Charlton, because he works in the limelight.
Yeah.
He works with millions of people paying attention to his every move.
Yeah.
And so he has to shelter the burden of his family loss and his personal loss, losing a baby sister, as well as trying to go out there and shoulder his team, because he's been the leader of that team the past couple of years, Charlton.
Yeah.
And he was a grown man during this series, Charlton, averaging 30 points a game, going out every night, Charlton.
Every night.
Separating personal life from the business life, Charles.
Yeah.
And such admiration goes out to Isaiah Thomas for what he has endured, because the pain never stops.
Yeah.
But he also knows that he has an obligation to work, to support his family, to support his team. And such an admiration goes out to this young man, Johnson, for what he has done.
Yeah, definitely, Big C. Obviously, when anyone goes through that, you got to play for them. You got to honor them. You honor them not by soaking and feeling sorry for yourself, but you do something that they wanted you to do, which is succeed, Big C. And speaking of succeeding, I want to get your thoughts on the Raptors. Obviously, they have a great coach. They're north of the border, up in the state of country of Canada. And I love the city of Toronto, very metropolitan city. The Raptors are in a familiar position from last year in facing LeBron James, and it may be a 5-game elimination. Your thoughts? Because Cleveland will get the calls, especially from the Northerners, Big C, if you understand what I mean.
Johnson, I really don't expect this series to go more than 4 to 5 games. You know, Cleveland is rested, okay?
Yeah.
They've been rested, what, 2-3 weeks now?
Yeah, yeah.
They haven't had to play. You know, so they're coming in, and they plan on making quick work, because in the playoffs, you want to get as much rest as you can.
Yeah.
So they'll be back on the court tonight, going out there beating up on the Raptors. And the Raptors are a team that is looking to play from behind.
Yeah.
They really don't have an answer for Toronto. For
Cleveland,
they
yeah.
made some moves in all season. But, you know, they just are not the team. I mean, to be pushed to the break by Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Milwaukee is not Cleveland. Yes, they have some decent players, but they are not Cleveland.
Yeah.
And when you come in off this hard-fought series against the Bucks,
Yeah.
and you got a team that hasn't played really in a week, Charlton,
Yeah.
you're hoping to get your legs on you. When Cleveland is trying to figure out how to slow down in the game.
Well, that's definitely true. And the Greek Freak is a stud, but he's no LeBron James, not just yet, Big C. When you think of another stud, I hear people saying they really don't care for this series coming up, and that's the Houston Rockets and the San Antonio Spurs. How will the Spurs fare against the Rockets? They have a more balanced team than Oklahoma City had, which is just a one-man band and Russell Westbrook. But it doesn't seem to be exciting basketball, because they're both kind of walk the ball up the floor, even though Houston shoots a lot of threes. They're not a three-point shooting team like Golden State, but they can shoot the three. I'm looking at maybe Houston knocking off San Antonio. Was a little bit older now, Big C. Your thoughts?
This is an anticlimactic series, Charlton. But, you know, one team that really matches up with Houston is San Antonio.
Yeah.
You have Kawhi Leonard who can play defense against anybody.
Yeah.
I see him spending 70-80% of the time guarding James Harden, Charlton. You know, when you had Harden and Westbrook trying to cancel each other out,
Yeah.
they just tired each other out. And Westbrook, because he's trying to play both ends of the court and even, you know, referee the game, you know, he expends a lot of energy.
Yeah.
The thing about Popovich is that he just knows how to manage business, Charles.
Yeah.
You know, this could be San Antonio's last swan song with the group of players that they have. So I see them giving it all that they have to have one more run at Golden State, Charles.
Yeah.
This is a team that, you know, it rested its veterans through the season.
Yeah.
Whether they said they were injured or whatever, but Pop builds for the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
He's done that for the last 2 decades. He
Yeah.
builds for the playoffs. And it's been a success, Charles. You know, 5 championships during his tenure in San Antonio. You know, so people talk about Phil Jackson and
Yeah.
other coaches. This man has 5 championship rings in San Antonio in the last 2 decades.
And you can't
So
do.
there's really been no coach
Yeah.
better in the NBA during that time.
Well, Big C, you're definitely right about that. I want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. But for every sports league, you need insurance. You can go through Big C Sports. We've covered through Ben and Mark Insurance. They've been around half a decade, actually half a century, and we're also around the world. We can insure you even for kidnapping insurance, which is very prominent down in Latin America. So Donald Trump, don't build that wall. They're kidnapping themselves, it seems. And also I want to say we cover every pro league, every collegiate league, your high school leagues, even your mom and pop soccer leagues. Tune out to Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network to get your athletic and events insurance. Big C, we go across the northern border. We talk about the NHL and how the playoffs are exciting, but they don't compare to the NBA, at least here in the United States. The Penguins are up over Washington 2-1 in this series, as well as the Predators are up 2-1 to Anaheim in search of Lord Stanley's Cup. As far as Lord Stanley's Cup, what are your thoughts on where who may kiss it this year, Big C, if you understand what I'm saying?
Well, you know, you still got the Penguins back in the playoffs, and as long as Sydney, you know, is healthy, they all
Yeah.
For some reason, he and Ovechkin, he always gets the best of Ovechkin in Washington.
Yeah.
But, you got to always like the Penguins stand. It's interesting with the Predators, though, this year. Playing as well as they are right now in the playoffs.
Hold on. Bill O'Reilly is Bill O'Reilly playing in the NHL? Did you say the Predators or when? Oh, I'm sorry, I was missing. I said he's going to win the Stanley Cup and sexual assault. Big C, your thoughts? Okay. That's funny, Big C. Yeah, you threw me off track for a little bit. Go right ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
But it's interesting to have a team from southern region of the United States being one of the top teams in the NHL, even as well as California with the Ducks, Charlton.
Yeah.
The geography has changed in the NHL over the past decade.
Yeah.
Where, the teams that were once strong in Canada have not been at that level. Edmonton played well last night. They're still playing strong, Charlton.
Yeah.
So you do still have some northern teams, with Edmonton, the home of Wayne Gretzky.
Oh, yeah.
They won all those Stanley Cups when he was up there at a young age. But,
Yeah.
The NHL, when you watch that game, Charlton, it's such an exciting, fast-paced game. And I think that's one of the things that certain regions of America don't understand because the game moves so fast.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And when you had a little moonshine in you.
Are you saying, hold on. Are you saying that moonshine is also popular in Canada? I thought the good old boys had the market on that, Big C. Okay, maybe that's my issue. That explains a lot of things. I don't need to follow up with my doctor's appointment after all. I know he's going to tell me to lay off some of that shine that I've been drinking at midnight. And speaking of speed, you were talking about that. We go back in the day to 1991. Ricky Henderson, he became the stolen base king in baseball, surpassing Lou Brock with 939 stolen bases. And the great thing about Ricky is you knew he was going to steal bases, and he still couldn't be thrown out most of the time. Big C, your thoughts on the great Ricky Henderson? Yeah.
When you manufacture run, Ricky Henderson was always good for a run a game when he got on base because the fear factor that he put in second baseman, shortstops, as well as pitchers and catchers, he basically controlled four people on defense.
Yeah.
When he was on the base, Charlton, and he allowed the A's to be what they were, and even moving on to the Yankees, Charlton, allowed a lot of success under George Steinbrenner.
Yeah.
But, he was such a dominant player. People always talk about the long ball hitters. You think about the effectiveness of a Ricky Henderson, well over 1,000 bases in his career, Charlton, by the end of his career, and how many runs that meant. But also, people forget, Ricky was a great base runner, Charlton.
Yeah.
But he also holds a major league record for leadoff home runs in his career.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So not only did he get on base, but a lot of times he entered the base before he could get on. It's still a base.
And that's amazing when you think about that because he epitomizes excellence and really loved watching him play back in the day with the Oakland A's. Always someone that was worth paying the ticket to go see.
He was like Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah.
He was when he grew up right there in Oakland.
Oh, yeah.
Before he joined the A's.
Yeah, that's definitely a beast mode baseball style, Big C. And speaking of some of the things that go on in the world of people being moved in and moved out, we talked about some of the good old boys over at ESPN that got let go by reading too many teleprompters, Big C. But I want to just go to another story in the NFL. The Buffalo Bills, they fired their GM, Mr. Whaley, amid the playoff drought, and he's the only GM to be fired, I think African American, to be fired after the draft. Was that correct, Big C? Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
This firing of Whaley, it's interesting.
Yeah.
You let the man go to the draft. Last year, you gave him a contract extension.
Yeah.
Then you had all the belief in the world of it, basically lied to his face.
Yeah.
All the fans' face.
Yeah.
And the NFL's face, Charlton.
Yeah.
Then the Sunday, once the draft is over, you fire the guy.
Yeah.
You tell him that, his services are no longer needed, Charlton. Wouldn't it be ironic that 3 years from now, this draft class, the past couple that Whaley has put together, and it started with the receiver from Clemson a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And he drafted the the kid out of Ohio State, the quarterback Cordell Jones,
Yeah.
that led them to the national championship.
Yeah.
Tantrell Henderson, the offensive tackle out of Miami.
Yeah.
If this team becomes a serious playoff team within the next 3 years, do you go back and bring the guy back in and say, hey, we were stupid for firing him because he put together so much talent?
Yeah.
But look at the teams, Charlton, that have not played as well as the Bills over the past 2 years around.
Yeah.
These changes are not doing. What about the guys in Chicago that made the Super Bowl during the draft?
Yeah.
Yeah. I look at a dozen GMs around, Charlton. You know, even in Indianapolis, you know, how does the GM stay around in there? In Jacksonville and various other places, they can't get the draft right.
Yeah, that's true.
It can't even be a 500 team. The 2 years ago, the Bills won 10 games.
Yeah.
Okay? They just missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's on the wild card ticket. But you fire this guy in the last 2 years. You know, he wins 18 games in the last 2 years. Not the greatest record in the NFL, but certainly Charlton not drafted in the top 5.
Oh, you know, and another thing, they're the only team to shut out the New England Patriots this past season. He's the one that did that, and I think they are building a good program. But it's a lot. It reminds me of back in the day when they would have the black guy run the ball down to the goal line, and they put the white guy in and let him finish. I think the Bills will have a good team coming up next year. But obviously, they get rid of the GM. They help put it all together. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But again, I'm not out there living in 3 feet of snow sometimes in the wintertime. But I also want to get their thoughts on this too, Big C. You talked about the Chicago Bears, the '85 Bears. The great defense, those days are gone. The Bears fans are still upset with their pick at quarterback in the draft. Big C, your thoughts?
They're upset, and the rest of the NFL was confused.
Yeah.
You know, all the people that are happy the quarterbacks that were drafted after him were going to the Bears and not letting us go there.
Big C, he even said he was surprised that he got drafted. Big C. Yeah.
The last time that the Bears took a quarterback as the number 2 overall pick
Yeah.
in the NFL draft, he was drafted out of Kansas.
Yeah.
Similar type of guy, but he was left hand. His name was Bobby Douglas.
Oh, yeah.
The player that was drafted in front of him, ironically, was the first player to win 4 Super Bowls as a quarterback.
Yeah.
So, and he also wore number 10, like Trubisky.
Yeah.
So, if history has anything to say about the success that Trubisky is going to have, the true Bear fans understood the last quarterback that was drafted number 2
Yeah.
and wore number 10 did not have a successful career. He had one notable hit throughout his career, Johnson.
Yeah.
He held the quarterback rushing record for many years of 980 yards in a season.
Yeah.
That lets you know he couldn't throw the damn ball.
Yeah. That's all funny. You know, another thing, too, involved in the draft, obviously the Bears, you know, we wish everyone success, but even when Deshaun Watson, but here he is, one of the top players in the country, last 3 years, basically. And in the last little championship game, last 2 years, he expected to go number 1 in the draft. And that's what he said when they picked him, them good old boys in Houston picked him. But Trubisky says that he's surprised that they picked him, and that's the guy they're going to put their confidence in. That cracks me up, Big C. That's a skip for the Blues Brothers, Big C. Your thoughts on that?
Let me tell you who pulled the deal with the draft.
Yeah.
When John Elway retired in Denver, okay?
Yeah.
The Denver Broncos made a trade for Jake Plummer out of Arizona.
Yeah.
Okay? To replace John Elway.
Yeah.
John Elway remembers that.
Yeah.
Okay, in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant, John Elway drafted Chad Kelly, quarterback out of Mississippi, who had gotten injured with about 4 games to go in the season. One of the more dynamic quarterbacks in college football the past 2 years.
Yeah.
But he reminds everybody of Jake Plummer, highly mobile.
Yeah.
With a guy who can thread the ball.
Yeah.
Chad Kelly will surprise a lot of people, Charlton, in the NFL. He will take them to roster. He may be put on injury reserve this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Like Trevor Simeon had been 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Coming out of Northwestern with a knee injury.
Yeah.
But Chad Kelly, look for him to be the starter in Denver in 2 years. Now, the season coming up, because they're going to find the reason why Paxton Lynch can't play in Denver, okay?
That's a very good point to Big C. That's a very good point, Big C.
Chad Kelly will be the starting quarterback in Denver in 2 years, and he will look just like Jake Plummer, but faster in the Denver Broncos uniform.
Well, Big C, that makes a lot of sense. In the final 5 minutes of our program, I'm gonna, we have right now some NBA action going on with Toronto at Cleveland. I can't wait to sit down and put some money down on Houston at San Antonio. Some good old boys up here in Nevada, they were asking me, hey, I've heard of iHeart Radio. You guys are Big C Sports. I heard of you guys, and they want me to go down and gamble with them, Big C. I don't know if that's a good thing to do. I'm definitely not drinking that clear water, if you understand, that they've been offering, Big C. But I just want to get your thoughts, too, on the Minnesota Vikings. It looks like they may have some things that will make them forget about Adrian Peterson, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, they got a tremendous young running back out of Florida State in the second round. A true steal, John.
Oh, yeah.
Probably the most shifty running back in the draft.
Yeah.
And when he was on the field, Florida State always had success.
Oh, yeah.
This was a young man that played under a couple of different quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Down there at Florida State. So he knows what it's like. He played with Jameis Winston. He played under Everett Golson. And he played with Francois this year.
Yeah.
So he had different quarterbacks. But if Adrian Peterson can come back off that, not Adrian Peterson, but Teddy Bridgewater can come back off that devastating injury that he had with the knee, I don't see, Bradford being the guy that the Vikings want to keep at quarterback. He was more of a stopgap. But if you can get Cook, and they made some moves on the offensive line during the offseason.
Yeah.
They have a tremendous receiving core. But, Cook, he reminds you a lot of a younger Adrian Peterson. This guy is shifty. He's more powerful than what people give him credit for, Johnson.
Yeah.
He can be a tremendous uplift to that Viking offense.
Well, I tell you, that obviously he looks like a younger Adrian Peterson. Now it doesn't look so bad that the Vikings actually let him go. This guy's him, but several years younger, and obviously have the same kind of speed. I want to jump over to the New York Giants, Big C, Eli Manning. Any more excuses of them not getting at least to the NFC Championship game? They had a great offseason. Your thoughts?
They have no excuse. When you look at the receiving core, they draft the Titans.
Amazing. Yeah.
And you pick up Brandon Marshall. You already got the young kid, Shepard, out of Oklahoma's last year's #1 draft pick.
Yeah.
And everybody knows about Odell Beckham Jr. So you're talking about 4 solid receivers with the Giants.
Yeah.
The only excuse Eli Manning, he shouldn't complete more passes to the opposing team down there.
Yeah, I agree. That's funny, Big C. Hopefully, I think them good old boys down in Dallas, they have some competition definitely in their own division. It's not coming from Green Bay. It's not coming from out west with Seattle. It's actually coming from the Giants and the Cowboys. Most likely the teams, one of those two teams will make it to the NFC Championship game at least. Just want to get your quick thoughts on Todd McShay and Mel Kiper and some of the thoughts they had in the draft coming up, Big C. Your thoughts? Yeah. Yeah.
From a draft expert, this move doesn't make any sense. This bewilders me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're sold and feeling good that you're a draft expert.
Yeah.
So you're an expert talker is what you are.
Oh, yeah.
You're guessing like everybody else. And when these teams started making these moves at number 2,
Yeah.
okay, they were mind blown that Chicago gave up so much. They gave up 3 draft picks to take this guy because they thought the 49ers wanted him.
Yeah.
Lynch had no inkling wanting this quarterback, okay?
Yeah.
Because he couldn't find a quarterback in the first round that was going to turn the organization around. So if he took anything from 49er history,
Yeah.
he knew that Bill Walsh waited until the 3rd round
Yeah.
to draft Montana.
Yeah.
Okay? He wasn't going to, and that year before he drafted Montana,
Yeah.
Steve DeBerg led the NFL in attempts and completions, so he knew he didn't immediately need a quarterback. He could wait.
Yeah.
And not wait that draft pick for the first guy in the draft. So he understood that learning 49er history.
Yeah.
But, when you think about the moves that were made to the draft, Jonathan,
Yeah.
there's really no player anymore that's going to set the table because of free agency.
Yeah.
No one stays with a team forever.
Right.
Now, and we talked about Myles Garrett, being the first overall pick in the draft.
Yeah.
And the last time the Browns they picked Courtney Brown, the last time they picked the defensive end, Courtney Brown ended his career
Yeah.
with 13 sacks in the Cleveland Brown in like 4 years.
Yeah.
So, you don't get that excited. But when you think about the defensive ends, Shelton, that have gone most recently, first in the NFL draft, there hasn't been a lot of success with them. Jadeveon Clowney, he's been a clown in Houston.
Yeah. That's funny.
You can't
Yeah.
And the Browns, the first overall pick, somebody who could have been an immediate impact. I don't think he is because he couldn't dominate on the college level.
Yeah.
I definitely know he won't be dominating against grown men. He will be a picture of Clowney and also Courtney Brown that the Browns drafted before.
Yeah.
And people say a lot of defensive ends haven't gone number one overall. They have. You know, back in the 70s, two of the largest defensive ends ever drafted, John Matusak went number one to Houston.
Yeah.
And Jones went number one to Dallas. So defensive ends, and both of those guys, Charlton, won 2 Super Bowls each.
Big C, how do you go so fast from talking about what just happened this weekend to going back to when cruising with the twos got drafted, Big C, in the final 3 minutes?
Well, you know, it's about understanding players, Charlton,
Yeah.
when you're running drafts. And these guys were drafted before, you know, Mel Kiper knew anything about what football looked like.
Yeah.
And so, since he's coming to the game, if you look at the game of things that he's talking about, you know, even in the draft, they showed a clip of him talking about that Jimmy Clausen would be a tremendous
Yeah.
success in the NFL.
Yeah.
Coming out of Notre Dame. The only success Jimmy Clausen had in the NFL was getting Cam Newton drafted number 1 overall.
Yeah, that's true.
He was a benefit to the Panthers because he helped them draft Cam Newton.
Well, let me get
1 overall because he was a loser.
Let me get your thoughts too in the final 2 minutes, Big C. Mike Mayock with the NFL Network, he was also wondering why his draft picks weren't coming up rosy. Big C, your thoughts?
Mike was cool. He had put together all these Mike drafts
Yeah.
and everything.
Yeah.
And these mock drafts, that's what they were. You know, they're pieces of paper that you use as 5-star in the winter. So,
Yeah.
But, you know, this is what amazes me. And ESPN, you know, maybe they didn't get rid of enough people.
Yeah.
You know, and Mike Mayock spent the major talk, you know, around television and radio the past couple of days
Yeah.
on how bewildered he was with the orangutan.
Hey, wait a minute. So Donald Trump has it wrong. He's trying to build a wall to keep Mexicans from taking jobs from white Americans. He has to start building higher walls at the zoo because they're doing better jobs picking these NFL prospects than these prospectors are. Big C, your thoughts? Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
The NFL needs to change its format about the draft. The 3 days is just too damn long, okay?
Yeah.
Get it over in 2. Let's have 3 rounds the first day, 4 rounds the second day. Be done with it. You can only stretch something out so long when you don't have any running superstars or big name players left on the board. The NFL is killing its own product. It's like when they talked about viewership was down. When you put it on enough outlets and people walk up and down the street and watch it
Yeah.
on their smartphone, then you don't sit up home and get the Nielsen rating.
Hey, let me tell you, that's a good point.
Right now.
That's a good point. Because of technology, the ratings are actually up. The Nielsen's may be down, but almost anywhere I go, even in the stadium, people are watching the NFL games on their app. They're watching the NBA games on their app. The other day, I was talking to a gentleman. I said, what are you doing? You going to watch the game? He said, yeah, I'm watching it right now on my phone. So the ratings are not down. They're going through the roof because people can actually take it on their app, Big C. And the final thought I'll get with you tonight, I know POTUS is trying to be a knucklehead again in the White House. In the final minute, your thought, who's he trying to invite to the White House? Was it Lil Kim or Kim from North Korea, Big C? Your thought?
Little kid from North Korea, Joe, but he's talking about it would be an honor
Yeah.
to sit down and meet with this man. We've had no sitting American president sit down with a dictator, okay, Charlton?
No.
But that's the stupidity of Trump in doing politics and world policy.
Yeah.
Is that he's talking about sitting down with a man who has killed thousands of his citizens, okay?
You mean,
Murdered.
yeah, yeah.
And his family members also to keep them from challenging him for power. Not only that, Joe, he is starving tens of thousands of his countrymen there. Nobody goes back for them, Johnson.
Yeah.
But Donald Trump is saying that it would be an honor to sit down with a murderer. He's talked that way about the Turkish leader.
Yeah.
Who has done the same thing to his people, Johnson. He's not talking about being kind. And also the man from the Philippines.
Yeah.
The president from the Philippines.
Same thing, yeah.
He's coming to the White House. So Donald Trump is inviting every foolish, stupid dictator in the world, such as himself, to the White House. You know, the man doesn't even know history. He was sitting there talking about Andrew Jackson. He had a different outlook on the Civil War. And it, you know, would have been a different outcome. Now, Andrew Jackson died 16 years before the Civil War broke out.
Yeah.
And
tell you what. Yeah.
Not knowing anything about history and opening of his mouth sounding buffoonish.
Well, I think it was President Lincoln that was gonna, when the slaves were freed, he wanted to offer each slave 40 acres and a mule, and when he was assassinated, it was Jackson who vetoed the bill. So that's the good old boy that Donald Trump looks up to. Take more land away from black Americans. And the last thing we'll say as we close from the Grand Sierra Resort here in beautiful Reno and beautiful northern Nevada, I want to say tonight's game that I'm looking forward to, Houston at San Antonio. Some good old boys that offered me a drink. I'm not going to take the drink, but I kind of jumped out of my seat when you said Little Kim was invited to the White House. I was going to say, make sure you wear pants, Little Kim. You got another reputation of POTUS. Big C, your final thoughts tonight on the great game, Houston at San Antonio. Will they even hit 100 points, Big C? Your thoughts?
In the playoffs, Charlton. They had a record-breaking game a couple of games ago for Houston, where he went 12 for 12 for
yeah.
time. In playoff history, anybody was on the excess of 10 shots,
yeah.
with 100% from the floor. So these are both teams that will put up numbers offensively, Charlton, and you'll see the ball moving up. And neither one will slow down the game.
Well, Big C, it should be great basketball again. I will be back on the scene tomorrow night for Big C Sports on iHeart Radio Network. I just want these good old boys to know I learned from USC what they learned when they went to Alabama, and they gave them all this free water. It's like that water wasn't really water. I think I learned my lesson, Big C, but I want to say every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide on the iHeart Radio Network. Follow Big C Sports, and you can also follow it every Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock p.m. also as we replay on the iHeart Radio Network. I want to also tell you, there's never any excuse for domestic violence. No man should ever hit a woman. If anyone hits you, just call 911. No one should have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we say on every program, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.